feel like it's just going to roll off and fall off the shelf. Hi everyone, how are you guys doing today? Today we're going to talk about the Urban Decay Elements eyeshadow palette. They have released this palette as a part of their holiday collection. It retails for $52. I told you guys that I picked mine up during Sephora's VIB bonus sale, so I got a 20% discount on it, and in the end I ended up paying $41.60 plus tax. This comes with 19 eyeshadows. 3 are mattes, 1 is a matte with slight shimmer called Firestarter, 14 shimmers and 1 shimmer topper. There are 12 eyeshadows, 0.9 grams each, 6 eyeshadows, 0.7 grams each, and Luna, the largest shadow, is 1.5 grams. You get a total of 16.5 grams of product in here, which brings the price per gram to $3.15 and price per eyeshadow to $2.73. In my usual fashion, in this video I'm going to show you guys eye swatches of all these beautiful night shadows over my eyes using brushes, because I believe that that is a true test of how an eyeshadow performs over your lids. I really like the look I'm able to create, but I had some issues when I was testing out some of the shadows. So let's first get into the swatches, and then I will talk a little bit more about the ingredients and what my thoughts are on this palette and the eyeshadows inside. In my usual fashion, my lids are bare. There is no product on top of it, though I have done some under eye concealing because I have realized that every time I edit these videos, I hate myself. But I haven't taken any product on top of my lid. Other than that and a little bit of setting powder, I don't have any face makeup on. Today I'm wearing a combination of these two lipsticks from Tarte, the lip lingerie lipsticks that I talked about in my Sephora recommendations video. And you know, I love how they look. I'm using a fluffy brush for applying the mattes in this palette, and then I'll be using a flat smudger brush for applying the shimmers. In between the application, I'll be using my color sweep to clean my brushes. I'm going to start at the lightest shade, and then we'll go around the outer circle, then we'll go inside, go around the inner circle. And this is supposed to be a topper shade. So whenever we have one of the dark colors on the eyes, I will show you how this shade looks topped off on that shadow as well. And in between the applications, I'll be cleaning my lids with the Garnier Micellar Cleansing Water and some paper towel, and then I'll be patting it dry as well. So starting with the shadow Antidote, there is a bit of kickback in the pan with the shadow. The pigmentation of the shadow is nice. I did not expect it to be. This is not a very translucent shade. I'm liking that it's able to cover at least some coloration from my lids. Next is lighter of the two green shadows called the Secret Keeper. I had to apply a little bit of pressure to pick the shadow up on my brush. During the application, I did feel that it applied evenly. However, I can see during editing that it is not very even. I did use this shadow in my look today, and at that time I had no issues with the way it performed. So then we have Antidote and Secret Keeper. Earthbound is a darker of the two shimmers. I have a feeling that this shadow might give us some fallout, though it's applying pretty nicely. And then we have the darker of the two browns called Elemental. It's applying nicely, no patchiness at all. However, as you can see, this is super close to my natural skin tone. So for my skin tone or darker, we definitely need a darker brown or a black shadow to kind of complete the looks from this palette. So then we have Earthbound and Elemental. Volcanic is a beautiful copper shimmer. Very beautiful, very easy to apply shadow. And then we have a burgundy shade called Lioness. This is a burgundy with slight flecks of gold in it. Though I would like to know how they came up with these names. There is a chance of fallout. Since I don't have any dark mattes in this palette, I think this shadow will have to kind of work as the outer corner shadow for me. So we have Volcanic and Lioness. Why is Lioness a burgundy shimmer? second to last matte in the palette, Firestarter. It's a medium burgundy with some gold flecks in it. We'll have to see if the gold flecks actually show up in application. And of course they don't. I'm noticing a hint of patchiness with this matte. And the last matte in the palette, called Dreamweaver, is a medium pink matte. As you can see, my lashes are catching a little bit of fallout for this shade, but nothing outrageous. So we have Firestarter, and then Dreamweaver. Next we have Ego, a very pretty burgundy shimmer with lilac flecks in it. I can't tell if it is burgundy with lilac flecks or if it's actually duochrome. I would say the shadow is a little bit on the drier side and will definitely need some setting spray to improve its performance. And then we have Heavy Water, a beautiful medium to deep turquoise shade. I'm having to dig a little bit heavier in the pan to pick this one up, but it's applying much nicer than I have seen shadows in this kind of shade apply. Blues are a little bit harder to do eyeshadow colors, blues and purples. Again, I can see that one can improve on the shininess and the vibrancy of this color by using some setting spray. So we have Ego, and Heavy Water. Then we have the most beautiful shadow in this palette, called Sapphire Dream. I pretty much bought this palette for this one shadow, you can say, and it's picking up beautifully on a brush. Yeah, this shadow is just gorgeous, even though I do have some fallout here, here, you know, so be careful. I'm gonna try and dust it off with a fluffy brush. So if you guys remember the negative review I gave Lorac Pro palette last year, that was because not just that there was fallout, but then when I tried to clean the fallout, I was getting smears on my cheeks, and I don't have anything like that today, so which is a huge plus. And then the last shadow in the outermost circle is Electric Air. It's a very light pinkish gray shimmer. This shadow is doing a bit of freezing in the pan, and I need to reverse dig it to pick it up. Very similar to the shimmers from the Subculture palette, Bad Batch Codes, and this will definitely need some setting spray if you want to get it opaque. So we have Sapphire Dream, and we have Electric Air. I was afraid that Sapphire Dream was going to stain my lid. It hasn't as much as I had expected it to. Next we have another shadow that kind of attracted me towards this palette. It's called Silver Burn. It's a gray shimmer with pink or purpley pink flecks of shimmer in it. This is a disco ball. It's like a party in a pan. This is a much sheerer shadow than I had expected it to be. All over the lid. This is a really gorgeous shade. Then we have the most aptly named shadow called Fool's Gold, and it's exactly that. It's like a tarnished greenish gold shadow. I just reverse dug in the pan a little bit, and look at that. If you want a super foil look, that's what you'll have to do. So we have Silver Burn. Party in a Pan is right. And Fool's Gold. Moonrock is a medium bronze with pink shimmer flecks in it. Beautiful texture, very easy pickup and application. Again, if I reverse dig in the pan, you get the foiled look. Tectonic is a deep bronze with golden shimmer. I feel like a lot of shadows in this palette could give you a one shadow look. Just apply it all over the lid and you're done. So we have Moonrock and Tectonic. Then we have Hex Remedy, a purple with pink or lilac shimmer. Again, this one feels like one of the drier shadows similar to Ego, and I believe that has a little bit to do with the purple in both Ego and in Hex Remedy. That's why these kind of colors in most palette tend to be slightly on the drier side. However, I do believe that a setting spray will do it a lot good. And then last shadow in this circle is Fortune Teller, and it's one of those burgundy to teal duochrome shadows that we see in a lot of palettes, and one of my favorite shades to have in a palette because it looks very beautiful on my skin tone as an all over lit shade. Again, if I reverse dig in the pan, I get more vibrant application. So we have Hex Remedy and Fortune Teller. And then the final shadow in the palette is Luna. This is also the largest shadow in the palette, which made me believe that it was supposed to be a shadow topper that would kind of work with all the other shadows. So let's try applying it with the brush all over the lid and see how that goes. It picks up very, very easily. It has light pinks, light teal, all kind of shimmer in it. And with the brush, it is indeed applying really, really sheer, just like I had expected it to. I'm gonna try applying it with my finger as well. You guys know how much I hate doing that, but I just wanna figure out why this shadow isn't that big a pan in this palette, like why? With my finger, I'm able to get the white base to show up a little bit more, but it is indeed a sheer shadow. It's pretty, but I'm still confused. So here you go. That's Luna applied with a brush. And Luna applied with my finger. That concludes all the eye swatches. Alright, so the first impression of this palette for me is that it looks beautiful. I like this inlay look, but I actually don't like the shape of the palette because I usually store my palettes vertically, and if I were to store this vertically, I feel like it's just going to roll off and fall off the shelf. So I think I'm going to have to hold on to the box to store this palette, which is not a big deal. But as you can see, my box has already started breaking down. So that might end up being an issue if I'm using the palette frequently and taking it in and out of the box quite often. Anyways, there was an interesting thing that I noticed about this palette, that the very first ingredient is Oriza rice powder. Now, I don't know if Oriza is a type of rice or if it's a particular company, because Oriza rice ceramide is a main ingredient in Tati's Halo Beauty supplement. So I don't know if Oriza is just a type of rice or if it's a company that has kind of name branded it. I don't know what the deal is. However, I thought it was pretty interesting that rice powder was the very first ingredient, followed by talc. So this palette does contain talc. There is also phenoxyethanol present in the shadows for those who are concerned. And the shadows Firestarter, Dreamweaver, Ego, Sapphire Dream, Moonrock, Loneliness, Hex Remedy, and Electric Air do contain carmine. So basically any shadow that has a slight reddish tinge do contain carmine in them. But I do like that they have stated that very, very clearly on the box. Another thing about the design that I like is that it comes with a huge mirror, and then the mirror actually props up in different positions. So that way, if you want to just use this palette to do your makeup, you can do it. It's a very substantial size mirror. I can see my entire face in it. So I thought that was a huge positive. Now let's talk about the shadows a bit. It comes with a lot of shimmers and only 4 mattes. The shadow Firestarter has tiny little gold specks in it, but for all practical purposes, it is actually just a matte shadow, because as you saw in the application, the gold shimmer does not really translate over your lids. I honestly do not understand with companies coming out with shadows like that. You see them everywhere, and more than 80% of the times I've seen that those little shimmer flecks pretty much never transfer to your lids. They just end up on your face. That was one of my pet peeves. The another one was, out of the 4 shadows, we don't have a single really, really dark shadow that'll work as an outer corner defining shade for anyone with my skin tone or darker, because the darkest shade in here is Firestarter, and for me it does not really work. For today's look, I have used the shadow Sapphire Dreams, which is a shimmer. in my outermost corner, and I usually prefer not using shimmers in my outer corner or in my crease, so that was kind of a bummer. And Antidote and Elemental are really close in color, and Elemental ends up being too close to my true skin tone. So I wish that instead of both of those there was a really dark brown shadow instead of Elemental, and that would have helped this palette out a lot. That's just my opinion. Having said that, I have to say that I really love the shimmers in this palette. I feel like most of the shadows in here can give you beautiful single shadow looks where you just apply the shadow all over the lid. Just take a fluffy brush and kind of blend the edge in your crease and you're done. The only shadow that I had a little bit of issue with was Electric Air. As you saw, that it was not applying very opaque for me. I have not tried using it with a setting spray. I will tell you guys in a future video if that worked or didn't work. However, Sapphire Dreams, the shadow that attracted me to this palette, is truly a Sapphire Dream. It is beautiful. I feel like it is unlike any blue shadow that I own. I did swatch a couple of blue shadows that I have. One from the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette, another one from my recent Marc Jacobs palette that I am giving away in the current giveaway. If you haven't entered, you know, make sure you enter it. But both of those shadows I felt like were a little bit more purpley. This is more true blue. If you swatch them side by side, I really like this shadow. So I feel like that one shadow justifies the whole palette, okay, in my opinion, because it's just gorgeous. It applies beautifully and has very minimal fallout. But I don't like that it's a limited edition palette. Usually I don't like to buy limited edition palettes because I cannot talk about that palette for long on my channel. However, I think that the blue kind of does justify it. I think I'm going to hold on to the palette for a long time. If you're interested, I would definitely say go ahead and take benefit of the Sephora 20% off sale. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
All right.